Now, allow me to somewhat get my head together and try to do this in a kind of order that was more, I guess, lucrative in my head. So I don't like to write scripts because I feel like every time I try to write a script, my hobby just turns into a job, and I don't really like that feeling. So I usually do these videos just straight off the cuff, straight off my mind, and that's going to continue. So I've been trying to ignore these numerous amount of videos, and I notice the more I try to ignore them, the more videos I get bombarded with. So I started to notice some things, and I think I noticed the way things were going to shape up in the, I guess, this new gaming landscape that we're all a part of. I think I noticed this when I did my PS5 video, like my thoughts on it and what I was most fearful of. It's strange because when I shot that video, I was merely just predicting things, just kind of guessing here and there. And it's weird because now it feels like we're moving closer and closer into the future that I feared the most of. But I got blindsided by a couple of things that I didn't even see coming. So let's start from the beginning. So I won't lie, I didn't know what a Steam Deck was until about maybe 2 weeks ago. I did see articles pop up here and there, but I didn't think much of it. It wasn't until I saw it was actually turning into a real thing, and people were calling it the Switch Killer. Now, I have an idea of what the Switch is. I mean, not the Switch, the Steam Deck. And I assume it's basically a portable Steam device. That's what I assume it is. Now, people are calling it the Switch Killer, but I think what people are starting to miss is I think that we're missing the bigger picture of what's actually happening. Now, I noticed also that Sony is starting to port more and more of their titles to the PC. Now, I didn't really have a problem with this, and I still don't. This is just me speculating here and there with this whole video that I'm doing. So Sony is moving more of their games over to the PC. We already know that Microsoft has been moving their things to the PC. I didn't really think too much of the gaming landscape until I saw the Nintendo Switch Direct that aired a couple of days ago, or maybe like a week ago. That's when it sort of hit me of what's actually happening. It feels like the landscape is doing somewhat of a pivot, or more or less it feels like Nintendo is pivoting. I should probably elaborate on this. Now, so it feels like Sony and Microsoft are two boxers in a ring, right? If you can just picture this for a second. Picture two boxers. One is Sony and one is Microsoft. And they're both duking it out. In this ring, the Steam device, the Steam, what is it called? Steam box, whatever you call it. Steam Deck. The Steam Deck, if you can kind of put this in your head, feels like the stadium that the ring that Sony and Microsoft are fighting in. That's what it feels like to me. Now, where I feel like there is like this weird pivot comes from Nintendo. I think for years now, we kind of felt that Nintendo wasn't really a contender to Microsoft and Sony. Sure, here and there they're talked about, but not really the big hitters. Now, when the Nintendo Direct came out, I saw an onslaught, and I mean an onslaught of just JRPGs. RPGs out of nowhere. Now, the reason why I started looking into this is because I also watched Review Tech USA's previous video of while he's ditching the Nintendo Switch behind, and he's going to the Steam Deck. And then that also hit me, is that the Steam Deck caters to a particular market. Now, from my understanding, and I won't lie, I know that the new CEO of Sony wants to focus primarily on big budget blockbuster titles. And I won't lie, I sold a lot of my PlayStation 4 games. I pretty much sold off my collection after I heard this, because when a CEO tends to want to move into that direction, they're only going to make and support one particular type of game. And I don't really game in that landscape, so I kind of jumped ship. Now, he also moved the company from Japan to California. So that is also the pivot. So it feels like nowadays, Microsoft and Sony are in this weird developer war where they're buying up developers. It's a back and forth thing where they kind of see where the landscape is going, and consoles are not going to exist anymore. It feels like what a lot of companies are going to start doing is buying up studios and porting them to the Steam Deck. I mean, if we can be honest, Sony is not even Sony anymore. I remember back in the day when Sony used to make monitors, computers, cassette players, CDs, CD players, record players. They used to make disc changers. They used to make so many different things. Now it just feels like Sony is just PlayStation at this point. They're just PlayStation, the company. And it makes sense to want to move all your stuff to the Steam Deck if you want to go into the digital landscape. Now, with that being said, I can see the reason why Nintendo wants to pivot. Because if Microsoft and Sony are going to duke it out over AAA titles, it only makes sense that you don't follow the crowd. I've learned something in buying stocks and dealing with Wall Street, is that when everyone is in buying mode, you sell. When everybody is selling, you buy. Just like if everybody is running left, you run right. And I feel like Nintendo, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. And I kind of saw that with the Nintendo Direct. They seem to just be flooding out all these JRPGs, while Sony and Microsoft are buying up studios like Bungie, or the Bethesda, which owns a lot of first-person shooters and kind of like American westernized RPGs. Now, I said this in my past video. Always felt like Nintendo had an opportunity to corner a market, which is when everybody is going digital, you go physical. And where this can apply is if Nintendo jumps on the bandwagon and starts buying up studios, I can honestly see them buying up Japanese RPG studios and cornering the JRPG market, where they're still in Japan, and a lot of Japanese people and players, as well as Westerners and Europeans and other gamers around the globe also love JRPGs. They can corner that market by releasing physical games in a JRPG landscape while everybody else goes digital. When I got the news that they were shutting down Wii U and 3DS titles, it solidified everything I've been bouncing around in my head for the past week. They're going to shut down the servers, create FOMO and buzz, so that they can resell you or repackage this later to you down the road. This can be on 3DS consoles, the Switch consoles, or this can be on future consoles down the road. We just have to wait and see. But as for the Steam Deck being a Switch killer, I don't see it happening. And this is not me being some Nintendo fanboy. I don't care for that sort of thing. I'm not even a part of that war. I play what I enjoy. That's all I care about. But I am a physical consumer. Like, I buy things physically. And I can still buy things physically on the PS4, but I already see the mindset of the CEO and where he wants to go. But getting back on track, Microsoft and Sony are fighting in the ring on the Steam Deck Stadium. And Nintendo is kind of making a U-turn and trying to weigh out their options to see what they can do. Now, I'm making this video because I feel like this would be a good discussion. Do you guys agree with that sort of viewpoint? What do you guys think that Nintendo's plan is for the future? Because me personally, I think the goal is to corner the JRPG market. Now, I'm not too sure if they should buy up companies like Square Enix. Square Enix seems to be that type of company that likes to play both sides of the field. And with the way this developer war is turning into, it feels like you're going to have to pick a side at some point. And if you aren't with either side, you're against them. And that's the future that I see us going into, is that there's going to be a developer war that outweighs the console war.